What are your thoughts about investing in Africa?
I love to invest in Africa. As I start putting money back home, I start understanding how investment works. I realize that, man,
It's not really an investment.
it's not really an investment.
Yeah. It's like an emotional decision rather than an investment.
A lot of people in the diaspora are facing the same challenges.
We've been doing this wrong because an investment is based on numbers, not on emotion, not on speculation. You know, the interesting thing I found is that we have foreigners that invest in Africa.
And why can't we do that?
Yeah, and they modernize Africa that way. So the question is like, why can't we do that?
There's strength in numbers, and if we figure out how to work together, we can do a lot of great things together. Because the future is Africa.
The true solution is to...
I'm from Nigeria, born and raised, and of course, when you start doing well for yourself, one of the things that comes to mind is like, man, I gotta go home, I gotta go invest, and just like a lot of us that are in the diaspora, we end up, investing a lot of resources back home. And over the years, as I start putting money back home, I start understanding how investment works. I realized that, man,
it's not really an investment.
It's not really an investment.
Yeah, so it's like an emotional decision rather than an investment, because an investment is truly based on numbers, right?
Right.
Which is like the similar experience that I have in Cameroon, because when I started on my journey, I wanted to invest in Cameroon. Like I wanted to do business in Cameroon, and I attempted it, and it almost killed me. Like just trying to do that business in Cameroon.
What business was that?
I was trying to do a trucking business in Cameroon. I did two things first. I did like import, where we would buy goods from the US and try to go sell it for more in Cameroon. That one was a whole total disaster.
Goods? You mean not buying goods or goat?
I said we're buying goods. Why am I going to buy a goat from America to go sell it in Cameroon? I said we buy goods in the US, like stuff, and then go sell back home, right? That one was a total disaster. But through that experience, I was like, while I was navigating through the challenges, I was like, there's a need for trucks here, so to do a trucking.
So when you say it was a disaster, what exactly happened that made you feel like it was a disaster? What caused the failure of the business?
So if you know anything about Cameroon, the custom systems is probably the worst in the world, right? So to navigate,
I think that's the same thing everywhere in Africa.
Yeah. So trust me, Cameroon is like notorious for that. So I did it with a group of friends. We bought stuff, put it in a container, and shipped it to Cameroon.
Which a lot of people do in Africa.
Exactly. The container got to Cameroon, and then we met somebody that said, you know what, I could help you guys get it out of the port much faster. Little do we know that that person was actually trying to like mess up the process so we can get frustrated and abandon the container. Right? So then I think he took one of the documents and was just holding on to it. So it was like, when I got to Cameroon, then it was like, instead of my vacation time, because the goal was to get the container out in the first week, sell the goods, and then have money to have fun and enjoy myself. But for the 3 weeks that I was there, the first 2 weeks was spent going in customs. From one custom office to another to this, one police office to another to this. I'm telling you, like the whole Christmas vacation was gone.
Yeah.
Finally got it out, and when I had just like 3 days left. So we ended up just liquidating everything and then just came back.
Got you. So I think that's about doing business in Africa, where there's not a system that makes doing business that easy. Like you said, they put in things in place to frustrate you, where you be like, you know what, I'm not doing it, and then you just go ahead and reap the benefit on it. And I think a lot of people in the diaspora are facing the same challenges. And that brings me back to, like, when it comes to investing back home, is like, what are some of those things a lot of people in the diaspora wants to invest in?
So it's land, right? Land is probably one of the most common one, where our parents grew up buying land and all of that. So a lot of us want to go buy land in Africa, thinking that is an investing. A lot of us also go and build, right? Or build houses and say we want to rent it. But with the knowledge that I have right now, I've actually had a conversation. I've actually sat down with a friend that built, like, he spent close to $500,000. All cash. That's the interesting part too.
Everything you're getting there is all cash.
It's all cash. There's no leverage, right? To build like this nice apartment community in Yaoundé. But when you do the math, you do the calculation, how much money he spent, and how much he's getting back in rent in dollars, it's going to take him like 20 years to recover his initial investment.
Okay.
Right? But he's not, we don't even, and when we're looking at it, we don't even factor in the time that it takes to go all of that. And when you're looking at the cost of construction, you're truly not even factoring all the other headaches and the other things that come through. Exactly. So, but I did the math and I'm like, man, we've been doing this wrong, right? Because an investment is based on numbers, not on emotion, not on speculation. A lot of the things we do, buy land, or like, for example, I'll give you an example. I have land. I bought land in Cameroon, right? And I bought this piece of land. My lawyer handles everything for me. I have the title for the land. My lawyer had not been to the land for months. Then I was like, go check it out. And he goes and checks it out and calls me. It's like somebody built a house on the land.
That is one of the biggest problem I think a lot of folks in the diaspora is having right now, where me too, I'm in the same situation, where you buy a land and you feel like you have all the paperwork. My mom called me one day and she was like, the land that she got from me, the youths of the community went and got a bulldozer and just broke out all the fence in the place and said they want to resell everything, right? And I think this is a painful experience for a lot of people in the diaspora, where they buy lands, they buy properties, hoping that one day they'll be able to go back and do it. And I feel like it's a false promise. It's one of those things that just keep pulling you, but you are not actually achieving anything. Now, there are some people that have actually gone beyond buying the land and actually building. But I've identified a lot of issues around the process. Actually, the whole chain of, finding the land, buying it, family members coming on board, family members helping you manage it. And I would like us to really discuss from the start, somebody calling you, say there's a land, to you buying the land, to you building it, to you designating somebody else to build it for you, or you going over there to build it, and to managing it, to running it, and for you to actually make money or actually have it as a place where you can live when you go visit. So I would like us to actually dissect each of this chain and see what are some of the issues around that, and see what are possible solutions on the long run for a lot of folks in the diaspora.
So there's so many issues along the way, right? I think the first thing is first to understand that buying land sometimes, not every time, but buying land most of the times is not really an investment, but we think it is an investment. It's more of an emotional decision. Right?
I think the thing about buying the land is like people tell you that you want to go own something back home. Not really, it's like for investment.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, if you buy this, you can go build a house there. This is your own land. This is your homeland. And all of that good stuff.
That's what I mean, right? Because it's an emotional decision. Because you can imagine, most of us came from nothing. We grew up in like a small village growing up and always had that big dream to get out of this village and do something big for ourselves.
Right.
Now that you've gone out, you're able to earn this income. Now coming back to that place that you used to live, to build a nice house or to buy a land in that community, that is validation, right? It's internal validation that you did something, right? And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely,
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But we should not look at it from as an investment, or like that's a nest egg that's going to last, because a lot of problems come along the way, right? One that you really mentioned is like the family member situation.
Yeah,
we live in the diaspora. We decide to go do this at home.
We call them our cousins and say, hey, listen, do you know one line back there? Can you help people go buy that line? And then your cousin is trying to figure out how to feed his family.
Exactly. And then the cousin goes and does it, and then things don't go well. Then it causes strain in the family, right? It causes a lot. But and a lot of times we blame the cousin. We blame this person. Or your cousin calls you and says, I saw this land. You should come and invest. Your cousin doesn't have any idea about investments, doesn't even know how to calculate numbers when it comes to investment, right? And then we make the decision to...
Sometimes we don't even go, we just send the money.
Say, go buy the land.
Yeah. I say, hell, have you gotten the paperwork for the land? They say, yes, I've gotten all the paperwork. And then your cousin that you're sending it to, or your friend, or your brother, your sister, a lot of them are still trying to figure things out. They're trying to feed their family. They're trying to, live a daily life. And you're sending them hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. and they're seeing that money in their hands, and they're like, well, I'm about to go buy this land, and that land is just going to sit there.
Exactly.
What if I can use this money right now and probably go buy another land somewhere else? So this destroys a lot of family back home.
Oh, it has. It has caused a lot of family problems. I know people that were sending money back home thinking that somebody's building them a house, only to go and see there's nothing there.
And I'm sure people that are watching right now, a lot of you are having the same experiences where you trust a family member, a brother, a sister, a mom, and dad, where you give them resources to go actually help you find land, help you secure the land, and then you find out that they did not really do it. That is one big problem. And a lot of times people do these investments, they don't understand the emotional and the relationship damage this causes. And it causes a significant strain to the family where it can be avoided. You can completely be avoided, right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of people here or in the diaspora, I think is a lot of people in the diaspora, if you're ready to actually invest back home, if you cannot find somebody that you can trust, that have a fiduciary responsibility to help you do it, I think it only makes sense for you to find the time to go over there, go buy the land and do all the stuff yourself and secure it yourself. And possibly build it yourself and all of that good stuff. But if a lot of us back here, or a lot of us that have jobs back in the diaspora, we only have 2 weeks a year for vacation. So when are we going to have the time to go back there and go build and do all of this stuff?
You know, that's truly, truly powerful. And I think part of the problem, which is what we have solved here at Excite Capital, and we're doing the same thing with Excite Africa, is that for us Africans, we have been taught to be community oriented in everything else but wealth building.
That is a big point too.
Yeah. We've been taught to be community oriented in everything else.
If you tell them what have a party, everybody's coming, family members is coming, they're bringing gifts, all of that good stuff.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Yep.
And that's true, because the village truly raises a child. But when it comes to building wealth, we go at it on an individual basis.
And that's something that has to do with just the African community, because I know the Indian community, the Jewish community, they all come together to build wealth together. I'm not sure, like if you look at all the properties that we've seen here, the Jewish guys, these guys that buy all of these properties together. Do you think there's a reason why a lot of Africans don't want to come together to like work together?
To be honest, I just think it's our education about money. Right? There's like a misconception of our understanding of money. Like we develop all these fears, all these mysteries around money, which makes it such that when we have it or we're trying to get it, we keep it like a hush-hush. You want to do it myself. Yeah. You're worried that the next person is going to take it away from you. But missing the point to understand that money, wealth is just a creation of value. And true value really gets created in a community, right? For example, we're talking about the investment situations. Right? Imagine you go back home and you have somebody that is already building these buildings, that lives there back home, but don't have the resources, don't necessarily have the access to capital. And you could provide that access to capital as an investment to this person that already does it. Right? And you earn and you make money from it.
You have a piece of it. You own a piece of it. And you get, once you help them finish it, you own a piece of it, and then you can get some return on it. And also, you can actually use it too when you visit.
Exactly. Right? That person has a vested interest. Instead of going and taking a sharky loan from the bank or from somebody that might destroy it, they work with you in the diaspora, you guys have the income, and that person builds. And you guys all benefit from it. Right? But it's like almost impossible for us to work in that perspective. And that's one of the struggles that we had that's one of the mindsets that we had to fight ourselves and teach others when we were building Excite Capital.
That's true. And another interesting point about that is, like, we all know, a lot of us in the diaspora, we do well. We have the doctors, the engineers, the accountants, the financial guys. Like, we do really, really well individually in our different career. We work for all the top firms in the world, the Google, the McKinsey, the Bank of America, all of these big Fortune 500 companies. But like your point, like you said, when it comes to actually doing stuff, we don't try to build together. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that Excite Capital has been trying to navigate in the last 7 to 8 years that we've been in business, trying to make people understand that there's strength in numbers, and if we figure out how to work together, we can do a lot of great things together. And then to take us back to some of the challenges on the chain of activities when it comes to buying and owning things back home. One of the ones we just identified, we talked about, is delegating that work to a family member and how that can ruin relationship. I'm hoping that a lot of folks that have had those situations, they can understand that there's a better way. There's a better way to continue to build relationship with their loved ones back home, to tighten those relationships without bringing in investments that would tempt them to actually go and utilize their funds in a way that was not they were not supposed to use it for. So we're going to be talking about some of the solutions, I think, because you don't want to just talk about problems and now come up with solutions. So I want to move gear to when it comes to community members taking over the land. I want to talk about community members taking over the land. When you buy a property in America here, if you buy a property and you have the certificate of ownership, I think you're good. All you got to do is pay your taxes. And if you don't want to build on that land for years to come, you're good.
It's your land,
Yeah. But back home, like I told you, I had a conversation with my mom, and there's a land that I bought. I've been asking about the land. She said the land is good, and then recently she just told me that the youth of the village were like, they finished selling all the land. They went and brought a bulldozer and they broke everything down, and now they want to start reselling it to a new group of people. Also, another thing that I think a lot of diasporans face is this land that they buy. The community people resell it to different people.
They sell the same land to more than one person.
More than one person. So I think that's another big problem that that we're facing as diasporans, because we're not there. We would not be able to go in there and look at the land all the times. And most importantly, we don't have the money right away to actually go and build on it.
Yes.
That's another big problem.
Yes.
Because we buy all these lands and we keep it, and before you know it, either the community takes it or we don't have money to build it. And also another thing that I identify is that when you finally build it, the process of building it, because you only have 2 weeks in a year to visit Africa, you cannot be there to supervise a project that takes a year or 6 months to build.
Exactly.
And because of that, you have to depend on somebody else. You have to send them money. You have to call them. You have to monitor them. And it gives a lot of headache to be able to get that done. So I'm not sure if you've been in situations like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All the time. The land I told you that I had that somebody built on, it turns out that the person that sold it to us also went back and sold it to the other person as well, although I have the legal paperwork on the land, which is like, and that's not unique to me. It happens every single time.
And because you have the paperwork, you can take them to court, but guess what happened? You stay in court forever.
Exactly. It's going to court back and forth. And again, these are the intangible cost to an investment that we do not factor in. For example, if we're going to buy an apartment community here in the US, every single dime we spent or goes into that is accounted for. And it's calculated to see, as part of that investment, to see if it's still a profitable investment
or not.
But when we do this kind of investments back home, none of that gets done, right? And you get all this cost, the time, the effort, you taking time off of work to go do that, or you try to build, or you build and it's not a value structure, and that has happened to other people.
And I've had situations where you give, so as part of the building process, okay, finally you found a land, let's assume the community people did not take it from, or the youth did not come and take the land away from you, and you finally get to a point where you're about to build it. You have only 2 weeks in a year to kick off the project and to visit back home. And he's like, I'm going to get a lawyer, or I'm going to get a brother and a cousin. Do you know I've had a situation where I've had relatives that they were really close before, but because two things. One, because that person was not having enough money by themselves, they were able to they were using the money that the other person was giving to them to build. They were not using it to build their own property. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they're like, you're back there, you have a house right back there. I'm here, I don't have a stable place that I'm living. Why don't I get that money that you give to me? I'll buy, instead of buying a big, say 2 plots, I'll buy 1 plot for yourself, I'll buy 1 plot for myself. And you start sending the money to build, and they give you an estimate to say, okay, it's going to cost you, let's say $100,000 to build everything. And that thing end up being $200,000, not knowing that you're building one for yourself.
2 houses.
So, guys, this is real situation. This is real life thing right here that we are dissecting. And I want a lot of folks that are listening to this to pay attention to, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate because a lot of you are facing the same issue. And like I said, we're going to make sure we identify how to solve some of these problems here as we continue this conversation. But these are real issues that is really, really causing the strain and actually making a lot of us back home don't want to even do anything back home. That's making us here don't want to do anything back home.
And you know, I don't think that's the answer, right?
No.
I don't think that's the answer. Honestly, like we have been blessed to travel out of Africa and been exposed to the U.S., other worlds, and technology, knowledge, and everything that's available out there. I believe that it's our responsibility to build Africa, to transform Africa, right?
Absolutely.
But we have to do it the right way. We have to do it in a way that does not discourage us, right? Where we do not, like, for example, I heard the story of someone that spent their whole life in the U.S. sending money back home, building every single dime they were sending back home to a family member to build for them their retirement home. And the guy was supposedly sending pictures of this another person's property. And this guy moved back to Cameroon to look at the house, and there was no house.
Wow.
And he went like mad, like he lost his mind.
And all of that can be avoided.
No, it can be avoided, right? And I do believe that we can leverage our knowledge, our resources to rebuild, to build, to like modernize, right? But the strength is going to be, the way we do that is by working together, right? It's by leveraging each other.
Absolutely.
The same way things that we've been doing here in the US. I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
I agree 1,000,000%. And I think that's why, because here we've been able to do what we've done here in the US. You know, we have right now about $276 million worth of assets. And the only way we were able to do that was because we came together to say, okay, we want a piece of properties here in the US. You know, we know a lot of us have individual properties, we build properties, we own properties, but can we build wealth by owning these single properties? And I think now we coming together, I'm doing it here in the US, has actually helped a lot of us see that there's a better way to building wealth than doing it individually. And I think the launch of Excite Africa is going to be helping us solve a lot of this problem. And I think we should spend some time talking about some of the things. You know, we've talked about the issues of finding land, identifying the issues with family members eating your money, the community taking over your land, why just buying land is not an investment. I think it's time for we to start having conversations about what are some of the solutions that can help folks in the diaspora own stuff back home. If they say they want to do an investment, actually have an investment that is well managed by team members that they can track monthly or quarterly, that gives them return, and they can actually use it as well when they visit. So I think it might be a good time for we to introduce some of the things that Excite Capital is doing to solve some of those problems.
You know, the interesting thing I found is that we have foreigners that invest in Africa, right?
That's true.
That invest in Africa, and that, let's say you have a foreign company that goes in and invests or builds like an apartment community or like a whole residential community in Africa. It's not that company is not owned by a single individual.
No, not
that
at all.
company has investors and shareholders, right?
Right.
That invest and they get returns.
And why can't we do that?
And they modernize Africa
Yeah.
that way. So the question is like, why can't we do that?
Absolutely.
But so we have other people that are going into our communities and they're doing this and they're creating wealth that way, right? But for us, the way we're thinking about investment is to go about it the individual way, right? But where we have the strength,
We go the individual and we lose everything.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? So the true solution is to start doing. It's not recreating the will. It's doing exactly what the large institutions are already doing right now in Africa. For example, Nigeria is rated right now as one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
Right.
Nigeria is rated right now as like one of the greatest opportunities in the future because of the population growth and the youthful population and the amount of opportunities that exist over there. PE firms, private equity firms are rushing
in there
to Nigeria right now.
Right.
To invest in different aspects, not just infrastructure, energy, and other aspects as well. Why can't we as a diaspora pull our resources together and do exactly the same thing in a structured manner like the large institutions do it? We have the knowledge. a lot of us work for these institutions.
Yeah, absolutely. And Excite Capital actually is considered an institutional investor right now in the US. I think it only makes sense to figure out a way to put us together to actually start owning back home. And a lot of you that are listening right now, I know 100% that a lot of you want to own back home. But I'm sure a lot of you are tired of the burden that comes with it, the headache, the family relationship that get torn apart, the issue of losing money, the frustration of depending on other relatives to get stuff done. And I think one of the things we're going to be sharing with you guys today is some of the things that we are doing at Excite Capital, because you can talk about a problem. I know a lot of us, we sit down behind the curtain and we talk about all the problems. We hang out together and we talk about all the problems, but a lot of us are not sitting down and coming up with a solution. Excite Capital, Excite Africa, we are going to change that. A lot of you that are watching this already know that we're doing that significantly here in the United States of America. And we are about to start discussing some of the solutions that we're going to be doing going forward to solve this problem back home.
Powerful. Yeah, this is actually what we're looking to do is like the beginning phase of a much longer journey, like of a decade, multiple decades long plan. And we decided to start our first project in Africa by doing something that limits the risk exposure to our investors significantly.
Talking about the risk, I think that's the one interesting thing. We've talked about a lot of these problems. I think maybe we should talk about some of the risk that one can mitigate. One, if you come together. Two, if you buy with institutions. Excite Capital is an institutional player right now. Mm-hmm. If you find if you find a management company that can help you run it. And then most importantly, that you own it as well and you're able to actually use it when you visit. Can we share some more light around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're going at it by yourself, right, you have the limitations of what you could do. Now, some of you guys are big boys, so you could build a $100 million building by yourself. But for most professionals, if you're going at it by yourself, you're limited to maybe building like a duplex or like a few houses or something like that. But now, when you're able to pull resources together, you have a bunch of people who come together and we're able to pull resources together, we could build like a much larger structure, whether it's like a hotel or apartment hotel, which is what we're going to be working on. Now, we have the leverage, the resources to bring in the professionals,
right,
to bring in the same kind of management companies that the Hiltons of the world and all these other guys use, to use the same architects that the American embassy, to these other guys are using, to other American companies are using to build in Africa, to use the same contractors, use the same things that the larger institutions are using,
right,
to build, so that it diminishes the risk exposure, right?
Right.
Because one of the most powerful things that we've learned in business is it's all about the people that you work with.
Absolutely.
When you have the right professionals that are doing things the right way, you significantly decrease your risk exposure. Because again, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're working with people that have already done what you're trying to do, mm-hmm, and they're gonna do it. Now, your role as an investor or as a visionary is to hold them to the dream that you're trying to create.
Absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of these investments, I think another problem that people will have is like location. Let's say real estate is location.
Absolutely.
From a risk management perspective, what are your thoughts about the location? Let's say, a lot of folks that are watching right now, they say, okay, well, I want to look for somebody that can help me handle this, where I can, own a piece of properties back, or I can own a piece of a property back home. I can get cash flow. I can use it when I visit. What are your thoughts around location when it comes to investing back home?
So I think location is very powerful, and location, one of the biggest things that comes to location is the legal structure, right, of that particular location. So you want to invest in markets that have a strong judiciary system, or like a structure where if something goes wrong, there's like a set framework on how to identify that. For example, I gave you the example of somebody building on my land. Now you have to go start talking to the judge. Maybe the guy goes and gives a bribe to the judge, and then the judge kicks your case out of court, mm-hmm, right? Where there's nothing there, and those things happen, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we strategically decided that when you come in to invest in Africa, that we'll pick a prime location, the same kind of location. Again, we are not reinventing the wheel. We're doing exactly the same thing that the large institutions are doing, because those guys spend a significant amount of money on research data in order to make investment decisions. And when they make investment decisions, they think decades,
Right.
not years.
Not years.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and one of the best ways to do that, again, just follow what the larger guys are doing. It's the same thing we do here.
Yeah.
When we go to buy a property, we see a Starbucks, we know that's a good location.
Location is growing.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Like Leslie is saying, location is a powerful thing, and all of us in the diaspora, I'm sure, if a lot of us, we want to buy a home or live somewhere in the diaspora, wherever you are, you want to find a nice location where you have good schools, less crime. There's a lot of retail around you. Things are prospering. And I think we now, since we've decided to go to Africa and solve some of these problems that we've identified, we chose Eko Atlantic.
Yes.
Is where we've chosen to kick off that institutional grade assets apartment hotel, where today, you as a diasporan, you want to be able to go home instead of going home and going to go get a hotel to stay when you visit Lagos. You can go and spend two weeks to a month on your property. In addition to that, those properties too have a capability of giving you cash flow every year.
It will give you cash flow.
It's
right?
providing cash flow for you. Also, you have a third party team members,
Professional management.
that are making sure the property is doing what it's supposed to do every single day.
So talk
right?
about something that fulfills the true characteristic of an investment, right? An investment is something that puts money back in your pocket.
Exactly.
Right? So it appreciates in value over time. And it has to be tax advantaged too.
Exactly. In
And
this
now-
one, there's no taxes.
And with Eko Atlantic, you're
Yeah.
investing in a tax-free zone. You're investing in a city, a future city that the American government is building its largest embassy in the world on.
Yep.
Right? Power of location.
Largest consulate.
Largest consulate, right? So power of location, right? If you look at the other companies that are coming into that island, it's like the large institutions of the world. So as a diasporan right now you get the opportunity to own a piece of Eko Atlantic,
Absolutely.
the city of the future.
And I think that's the only place you can think about right now in Lagos that is the city of the future, right? Where you can say, you know what, I want that prime location, I want that prime access, I want that pristine asset. That when you say I own a piece of this asset, anybody you mention it to will be like, man, wow, how did you do that? And like we said, there's strength in numbers. Today, except you have significant amount of money that you want to just go buy land and then build a huge property, we have the chance and we have the access and the team to replicate what we've done here in the United States, where we've bought institutional grade assets, we manage institutional grade assets, investors are getting a lot of returns on it. We can do the same thing back home because the future is Africa. We can say we're buying all these assets in America today, but a lot of us want to go back home and own stuff as well. So what's a better place to do it than launching it in Eko Atlantic, working with the right partners to actually execute on the business plan that we have set out. Again, a lot of you that are watching, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us at Excite Capital. We definitely would love to answer a lot of the questions that you have. But do you have anything else to ask
Absolutely.
about that?
The most important, and one very, very important thing to mention is coming to this point of making this investment is not like by chance. It's not something that we just got up the next day and say we're going to start investing.
We're working on it now for about a year.
We're working on it now for multiple years. Our CEO, Dr. Oni, actually sold his house here in the US and migrated back to Nigeria to start that groundwork of building this bi-directional flow of capital. Because we got to a point where a lot of investors in Nigeria wanted to invest in their assets here in the US. But in his vision, Dr. Oni said he just doesn't see us. He just doesn't want Excite Capital to be a platform where we receiving investments from Africa, but create a bi-directional flow where diasporans too can invest back
Diasporans globally.
Yes, globally can invest back in Nigeria and can create wealth back in Nigeria, can modernize the society. And it is that vision that led us into Eko Atlantic, where we're going to be developing the first apartment hotel on Eko Atlantic. And again, it fulfills two things. It's a place for you to stay when you go back home.
Ownership.
In a prime location. and then it's an investment.
It's an investment
that
as
puts
well.
money back in your pocket
That
for
appreciates
years,
in value over time.
for generations to come. That your family member cannot come in and say, I own this or that, because everything on the island is structured legally, protected. As an owner, you pass it down from one generation to another. So
And you don't get to ruin relationship with your family members. Community members don't come to bulldoze the property in one day. You don't wake up one day and you be like, oh man, my land is gone. You don't have to get on calls to go to court, go to the judge and go figure out how you're going to bribe a judge, right? You don't worry about when I go home, I have to go spend time in a hotel, rent a hotel in order for me to stay back, or you go with your family. You're going to be getting a prime asset, prime location. We're going to be able to be seeing the ocean as well. But definitely, I think once we establish the project, I think we have like the founder wall that we're talking about. We're going to have some people that are going to be the first founding members that we're recognizing. So we're going to have those guys. If you're interested and you have questions, feel free to reach out to us here at Excite Capital or Excite Africa. We'll take any questions. Again, right now we can give you significant details about the project, but we want people to start understanding that there's a big problem that we all are experiencing, and there's absolutely a solution. And if you're interested in having these conversations, you have an opinion about it, we'd love to talk to you about it. Because again, we're not just the only ones having these problems. A lot of us globally are having this problem, and it's time for we to start having conversations about it, start looking for solutions. Excite Capital, we're taking the charge, we're going to start solving the problem, and we encourage you to be a part of it as well.
When I see you move to Nigeria, a lot of you started reaching out. A lot of you are investors from all over the world: Australia, New Zealand, UK.
South
started
Africa,
asking
Canada.
questions. When are you guys going to do a project in Nigeria? And we said, wait, we don't just go into projects without doing the due diligence and doing all the groundwork that is needed. You've been patient enough. Well, the LUMINA is coming soon. Look out for more details.
Absolutely.
So tell the audience, what is LUMINA? What is the LUMINA?
So the LUMINA project, like we've talked about, we've identified a lot of problems that people are facing. And like I said, it's not about just looking for problems. It's like, I can either be a group, we at Excite Capital can continue to be a group of people that just complain, or we can be a group of people that make a change. And when Dr. Oni moved to Nigeria, we started having conversations about how we can make a change. We have a partner, Eno Hansen, which is one of our partners at Excite Africa as well. We all will come and put our heads together. What can we do to be a part of the change? And when we had a lot of conversation, we had a lot of feasibility studies. We said, well, what if we can just do what we've done here in the US, where we now as diasporas here in the US and globally, we're able to own institutional grade assets here. We're not going in and buying lands and just owning properties. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Because here in the United States, if you buy land and you buy properties, as long as you pay your taxes on it, it's yours. But back home, we have all these problems. How can we be a part of the solution? Because this is our home. And 4 of us came together and said, you know what, let's look for the right partners. Let's look for the right location, and let's build something. The LUMINA was created specifically for folks in Nigeria and folks in the diaspora to come together as a fusion to own institutional grade assets in Africa, starting with Lagos. And we decided to choose a location that's one of the best locations in Africa to build that project, because that's what we do here in the United States. We don't buy properties in areas that doesn't have good schools, good economy, good facilities. We want to make sure, as we come together as a group globally to invest in Africa, we do that in locations that we know when we buy it, we own it. When we invest, we know our money is going to come. We partner with the right people to make sure they run it because they know how to do it. Imagine owning a piece of Hilton or Marriott. The LUMINA is giving a lot of the diasporas and folks back home the opportunity to own a quality assets just like Marriott and the Hilton.
Absolutely. 1000%. You couldn't have said it any better.
So why is now the right time for people to invest back home in Africa?
You know, you go into any private equity conversation, you go into any conference, and you see the billionaires of the world, the large private equity firms, they say the greatest opportunity that exists right now, other than AI, is Africa.
Why is that?
Because Africa has the youngest population in the world. Now, when you talk about investments abroad, remember that anything you invest in has to serve people, right? Most other economies in the world have a declining population. Do you know that? Right.
I think I've seen
a lot of economies in the world are struggling with population. Africa doesn't
and
have
they're
that
giving
problem.
incentive for people to come.
Yeah, Africa doesn't have
giving
that
them
problem.
nationality.
Africa doesn't have that problem. It's a youthful population as well, and a population now that is getting exposed to the rest of the world with the digital age. So it's a much more intelligent younger generation. So when you are looking at markets or investments, you want to go where people are going, where people exist that are going to be there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why Africa presents a lot of opportunity. And then a lot of places in Africa have been mismanaged over the years. So there's a lot of runway to grow. Just imagine like the societies that we see here in the US and how much path that we have to develop Africa to get to that point. As diasporans, we have the exposure, we have the experience.
And the expertise.
The expertise to do exactly that.
But the thing is, that's really, really the truth. It's like we have what it takes to transform the trajectory of Africa.
And we will.
And we have the resources as well. Not that we don't have the resources. We have the resources. And I think this is a good time because a lot of people didn't think that Excite Capital would be able to do it here in the US. They thought that Africans cannot come together and build anything of significance.
That's a great point. You remember when we started Excite Capital, we were having conversations with some of the older investors. Like we met like these doctors that have been in practice for 20, 30 years. And I remember one of those conversations, they looked at us and they said, my sons, this thing you guys are doing, we are very proud of you. Because we have been talking for decades.
That's what everybody
but we never took the action.
They go to a family gathering and they just keep talking. And just keep talking. Nobody is doing anything.
Say, but you guys are doing it. And we are very proud of you. As long as you guys maintain these values that you guys have said you've created, we're going to be behind you. And that's exactly what we did. We proved that as Africans, we can come together and create wealth. We have acquired $276 million of apartment communities in the US, with 70 to 80% of our investors being Africans in the diaspora. This is something that many thought was impossible. We're talking about close to $80 million in equity raised from our brothers and sisters, and close to $10 million in returns that have already been distributed back to these investors. So we are investing now in institutional grade assets. We are creating wealth. We are owning large apartment communities here in the US. We will do exactly the same thing in Africa, and we're going to start with the LUMINA project.
And we can't wait for you guys to learn more about it. And of course, we invite you guys to be do we want to invite them to be part of the Founders?
Yes, you invite you to be part of Founders Wall. Guys, do the same thing we do in the US. Don't keep this to yourself. Wealth is built by communities. Share with each other, right? Learn. If you're not ready to jump in and invest right now, at least now you know Excite Africa is setting the groundwork for the future.
Yep.
To build Africa. We are Africans and we would build Africa.
And own a piece of Africa. So what do you think people in the West or folks in the diaspora, the misconception they have about investing in real estate in Africa?
You know, interesting thing that I've noticed over the last few years is actually more people in the diaspora, non-Africans, are going to Africa to invest in real estate. For example, like a lot of my Sierra Leone colleagues are buying properties in Ghana.
And they're using mortgage too.
Yeah, and they're using a mortgage to buy those properties in Ghana. And a lot of them are asking about Africa. There's actually a huge thirst right now by Americans to invest in Africa.
Yeah, that's
especially true. Black Americans.
Right.
Right? Because they see the opportunities from a perspective of pure opportunities, whereas us as Africans, we have emotional attachment to what's happening in our country.
Right.
For example, we're worried about the government, we're worried about this, we're worried about that, and all of that stuff. While Americans, all they see is opportunity. For example, in Nigeria right now, the flow of funds in Nigeria is mostly foreign. A lot of foreign companies are going into Nigeria and investing. while a lot of us are running away.
Oh, we're not necessarily running away, but we're buying lands and are thinking that we own assets, right?
Yes.
Or we have investment property, not knowing that, you know, there's a lot of, or knowing that there's still the fear, but we're just doing it anyway because we want to own.
Yeah, good
And
point.
I think the thing is just to make sure, just like everybody else is going to go own a piece of Africa, we too that are here wants to continue to own as well. A lot of people think that the real estate there, of course, there's a lot of challenges where people own properties, the value of the property drop in terms of, because it's not an investment. And that's why the apartment hotel that we're looking to do is important, because it serves the test of people visiting. It helps, it serves the tourism. It helps with tourism, right? And it's in a prime location, so there's always going to be a need for it. And after our studies, we observed that that is a location that doesn't have what we're looking to do, and that will help people make money. So I think there's a notion that, you know, if you invest in Africa or you go buy properties in Africa, you're not going to make money. It's not an investment. And like you said, it's an emotional decision. So I think Excite Capital and LUMINA Project is going to be changing that for people, where they now see it as an investment, rather than being that emotional decision that they made, or they usually make.
And it could be a combination of both. Now you own something back home as well that you could go over there and spend vacation with your family.
With your family, exactly.
Yeah. I know that you contributed towards the development of that space, but it makes money for you. That's what an investment is. It's about building communities and getting returns for the value that you bring to those communities.
And there's a significant pride of ownership. Like I said when I said it earlier. Imagine you being able to say, I own Hilton Hotel in Lagos.
Exactly.
I own Marriott, or I own, you know, Waldorf Astoria in Lagos. The Lumina is going to be one of those signature projects in Africa that people are going to visit. Diplomats, we diasporans, we're all going to go visit. We'll be able to stay there, have a good time, and of course make money while we're doing that as well.
Yes, absolutely.